Welcome to Resolve the Unsolved Forum, initiated by Panisha Evans Consulting. Today, we are on our 26th webinar, and we have decided to focus on a very pertinent topic of the current times, that is startup. Sometimes it sounds as a magic word, but the fact is, new business and new business ideas were always explored for ages by humans. Some of us here, like Mr. Goyal and me, have been part of building new businesses for the last 25 years or so. I have been part of new business initiatives every 4 to 5 years since 1999. What, yes, there has been a change when we talk about startups. And what has changed? One, there's a lot of focus on startups today across the globe. Institutions and enterprises are discussing on startup ideas. Funding opportunities too are available specifically for the purposes. And not only this, most important, government policies and structures are getting in place to support startup initiatives. Hence, there is now a well defined ecosystem around it. There now exist enabling structures, well defined policies for a new business ideas. Most of the time, we have observed that an entrepreneur is not aware of this and is not able to take advantage of the procedures and structures available in the ecosystem. In the recent times, during COVID and at present, we have been getting consistent queries regarding various startup ideas at Panacea. Between me and Mr. Goyal, we are interacting with them. They are across sectors, which is there. And at any given time, there are entrepreneurs who are starting either a new initiative or a new entrepreneur coming in with a new ideas. Hence, we decided to focus our today's webinar on current policies and procedures within the startup ecosystem because we felt it's very, very important and it's very critical that we spend some quality time on trying to understand what are the policies being formulated and what are the procedures which exist in the system. Today, we have a guest speaker, Mr. Chahat Khattar. Chahat, welcome to the session today. Chahat is a management consultant professional and is very passionate about the startup ecosystem. I've been interacting with him yesterday and trying to understand the current scenario. And I could feel that the passion and the involvement which he had put in into the entire process is immense. To share with you, he works very closely with the central and the state governments and is trying to build the entire ecosystem to enable the entire initiative of startups in the country. He is an economic development advisory consultant, advising, as I mentioned, the central and the state government on the objective for building up the startup ecosystem. Expertise is in drafting startup policies and executing the same at the grassroots levels, evaluating performance of incubators, fund management, and fostering partnerships. Today, we will be able to learn a lot in the ecosystem. Along with me today, I have Mr. Ravinder Goyal. Mr. Goyal, welcome to the session once again. As we all know, Mr. Goyal has been an entrepreneur himself for the last 20-25 years. managing a large operations. In the last few years, he has been focusing on training, mentoring, and coaching not only startups but family businesses across the sector in terms of setting up their expansion strategies, working on the funding strategies, and jointly we have been also working on various collaborative initiatives in the current scenario. To start off today's session, Mr. Goel, may I request you to speak a few words, please?
Thank you, Sandeep. As we're talking about startup ecosystem, if I take back and think about my journey way back, started from 1989. So you see, at that time, the ecosystem was not about startup; it was about business. Startup was not a word at that time, and mostly the businesses were started with the concept in mind of earning from the business. Now, over the last 30 years, things have changed where profit from the business has become a side concept and the valuation has become the main core concept in the entire system. So, if you look at the entire proposition, it has changed drastically. Now, the kids, the new generation who are coming up from various colleges, they are inspired with different stories around. They've been whatever is been exposed, they are exposed with. Like initially, I remember in the early 2000s, Silicon Valley was the word.
Yeah,
People were a lot inspired that people must visit Silicon Valley, and it's like Midas touch. The moment they are there, they'll become like another Sabir Bhatia or maybe another Bill Gates. They'll develop something new. So, if I talk about a businessman, like I handled around 200 plus first time business people, like as my franchisee partners. At that point of time, the core was that I have some capital and I want to start something, jump into it. Today, the budding engineers or the people, the students, they actually talk about I have an idea. Like if you know that in Panacea we have discussed around to almost 15, 20 such kind of, I must call them students or budding entrepreneurs.
yes,
Uh, so their ideology is something what probably Chahat, because he's dealing with a lot more than us. Uh, I feel that at the college level or at the consultancy level, some changes have to come where their mindset has to be a little more before they get into it. It should be more a little more grown up and a little more a bit probably they need to learn more about it because you see most of the entrepreneurs or the budding entrepreneurs we have met, they have flimsy about idea about everything. That I have an idea, I'll probably 10% of my equity, I'll charge 5 crore rupees, and I'll have that turnover of 100 crore rupees or 200 crore rupees in very second year. So you see, the entire ecosystem is talking about the stories we've been published are like that. So the kind of knowledge or the kind of experience or the kind of stories they are hearing is
yes,
different. And when they go into the reality where they have some idea without any prototype, without any the real life structure or any traction in their business, so they really it's like they nosedive. I mean, they crash their feelings, their emotions, the whatever small investments. And I've seen many students because you see the placement is a crucial time.
true.
If they get the placement right after the college, so they are well placed. And if they spend time on this startup ideas and everything, sometimes they lose their very golden hour. So probably we have Chahat who probably can line up the things because we are practical and he will be able to talk point by point. So I'll not spend more time and probably will give it back to the Chahat and welcome him once again and welcome other participants. Hope we'll have a lot of learning today from Chahat. Welcome Chahat and thank you for coming. Back to Sandeep.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. In fact, you are right. Mr. Goel comes with a lot of practical experiences, and you always have a debate between a concept and a practical execution of these ideas on the field. Right, Mr. Goel?
Yeah.
So today we have an interesting opportunity where we have an important member like Chahat who has been drafting policies and enabling the government bodies to implement them. Chahat, it's all yours. We look forward to hearing from you. What are the exciting opportunities you, along with the state governments and central government, are creating where startup ideas can be implemented and we can take it jointly forward? Please. So you may
Thank you so much,
start.
Sandeep sir, Ravinder sir, for very kind words. It's always a pleasure to interact with the community, to come on such platform and share from a different perspective as to what is happening in the Indian startup ecosystem, how we are on a path towards becoming a global startup hub. So, one very important thing I must mention is that we are a very young nation, not just in terms of independence, but also from the point of view that we started talking about this thing called startup just about, say, 5 to 6 years back. In fact, the definition of this of the word startup actually came into existence just about 5 to 6 years back, and then it was when Honorable Prime Minister launched the Startup India Action Plan on 16 January 2016. Is when the world started recognizing and talking about Indian entrepreneurship, and that was probably the start of a revolution which we see today. And with a lot of pride, I'm extremely excited to share that we have more than 44,000 recognized startups, which are actually recognized by Government of India. And more importantly, now we have a startup from every state and union territory of India, right from JNK to Lakshadweep to all corners. We now have at least one startup when we talk about recognition. And at the same time, we have covered 80% of India's districts. So our goal is to reach each and every block, and we are very much on track as a nation. And we believe that it will take us probably next few years to become the largest startup ecosystem hub. And what is more exciting is that each of these recognized startups, on an average, have been generating good employment for 12 people. And this is very much globally competitive. And this shows that the startup ecosystem will be the backbone of what we hear today in our journey towards becoming the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Uh, and this all has happened, I must say, because of constructive efforts and collective efforts of government, of ecosystem players, of innovators, of academia, so on and so forth. So the beauty of this whole ecosystem is that everybody, whether it's government, whether it's entrepreneurship cells, whether it's incubators, all are working towards a common direction. And I think that is where the beauty of our whole ecosystem, the way it is structured, is such that every viewpoint is taken in a very constructive manner. So while the government is involved in drafting policies and drafting schemes, it is enablers like yourself, like all of us, who are implementing that on ground, and that will be the key to the greater success of our ecosystem.
Now, Chahat, to put it straight, if I'm an entrepreneur and in the last 5 to 10 minutes we have been talking about the ecosystem, and I have an idea, and you mentioned 44,000 startup ideas or startup companies are already there in existence. So I have a product or a solution. How do I enter this ecosystem? What are the policies which are there which can enable me? Or how should I go about it?
So, very intriguing, very interesting question. So let me put it this way. So within the policy framework, within the government, we have not just one ministry which is actually working towards and for the startup ecosystem. We have a parent ministry which is entrusted as a nodal agency or a nodal ministry to support startup, which is Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And we have DPIT, Department for Promotion of Industry and International Trade, which is responsible for maneuvering and recognition of startups. But DPIT works with all other key line ministries, whether it's DST, Department of Science and Technology, whether it's Ministry of Education, whether it's Ministry of Defense, and the state governments to actually help startup from different sector and different stages. Now, if I talk about that, if you have an idea what to do next, the very first thing you should probably do is it depends as to at which level you are at. Say, for example, if you are in a university, you can first of all reach out to your university entrepreneurship cell, and we have for that the Atal Innovation Mission, which is run by Niti Aayog. So if you are in school, you might be having Atal Tinkering Lab. If you are in university, you might be having Atal Incubation Centers. Please reach out to those in your respective areas. Or you might be having state government's own initiatives on startup ecosystem, and they all have their own websites. Everything right now is digital. I mean, the beauty of this whole program is we don't have anything based upon paper anywhere. At least I can say that. So you can just simply go on to those websites, look at what policies you have at your regional level, and at the same time look at the national policies which are relevant for you. For example, if you are making a biotech solution, go to the website of DBT, see what DBT has for entrepreneurs, and don't assume that it is written on the website. It may or may not be applicable, or it may or may not be in a position of implementation. Just don't assume that. Do some research, see the nodal website or the contact details of nodal person, reach out to them, write to them, and I can assure you that you will be inducted in the ecosystem in no time.
Okay. So, Mr. Goyal, to bring you in at this stage, as Chahat has been saying, there have been a couple of startup ideas on which you are mentoring them, right?
Yeah.
Like a digital recruitment platform, to say. So, do you think, have we visited any of these opportunities, any of the websites which Chahat mentioned, or do you have any specific queries from Chahat in that context?
See, the issues what I probably have felt or realized.
Mhm.
The first of all, with us, the biggest problem we face is to channelize the person, his thoughts, and
Okay.
these things comes in the second stage. First of all, making him to understand what he's carrying and what he can do at his own.
Okay.
Probably what I feel that everything, if you look at that, it will happen. Sometimes it happens that the person wants the straight from the mind. It should get into the startup cell, and I should become an entrepreneur, and I should have investment. So probably
Right.
we are working in the first phase of it as of now, where we are channelizing their thoughts. We are
Okay.
getting them to understand the reality, how things can reach to the next level, where we develop the prototype, where we develop the site, where we develop these ideas, the projected balance sheets, everything. So probably we are yet to reach the stage what Chahat is talking about with the people
Okay.
with. But
Now,
yeah, you see,
the purpose.
I can say one thing. Probably during his talks, if you can make it probably like 4 or 5 pointers, where let's say the idea is clear, the papers are done, probably we reach to the stage of maybe either patenting the idea or maybe getting into it, developing a prototype. Now, how should he take forward? Because most of the people they don't have much of the investment other than time. I think the money is a big constraint.
Straight. So, Chahat, the purpose of bringing in Mr. Goyal was, one is, as consultants, we are trying to shape them to come into the process. And on the other side, as you mentioned, there are bodies which already has the existing ecosystem, the structures in place. So the question which has been put forward by Mr. Goyal is, once this is there, how do we get in? What are the procedures after I log on to the website and visit?
Thank you, Goel sir and Ghosh sir again for your comments. Uh, so as a startup, we have a clear-cut guidelines, and in terms of definition, we have very much clarity on as to what can be recognized as startup. Much like what can be registered as a company or a partnership or anything. And this recognition guidelines are continuously evolving. The last update we have was in February 19, 2019. And with this union budget, which has just gone by last month, the same will be evolved further. So once you actually go onto the website, which is startupindia.gov.in, which is a central government website, you simply go on to apply for recognition, and it's a very simple form. It just takes 5 to 10 minutes if you have all the information handy. Of course, you need to be either a registered private limited company, or you need to be either a registered partnership or an unregistered partnership, and fulfill other criteria of the definition. And you can simply log onto the website and apply for recognition. And if all goes well, in a time bound manner, you will get the recognition number. And the importance of that recognition number, which actually a lot of people don't realize, is manifold. Now we have exemptions. For example, we have tax holidays for startups, which is applicable under Section 80 IC of the Income Tax Act. Now, without that recognition, you cannot apply for that.
Okay.
Without recognition number, you cannot also list on GEM. Now, a lot of people don't know about GEM. So GEM is the central government's platform, which is also known as government e-marketplace. If you have to sell anything or everything to government, PSUs and state governments. So it's a completely online platform. Now, if you want to have benefits as a startup, you need to have a recognition number. You need to register on GEM. Similarly, if say you want to apply for some of the central government schemes and incentives, now the Honorable Prime Minister has already announced Startup India Seed Fund scheme, which will be operationalizing from 1st of April. Now, if you are not a recognized startup, you will not get the benefit. So see, government is coming to you. The policy makers are coming to you. But we as a community need to be a lot more proactive. We also need to go and test and give feedback. It's a lot more feedback driven regime at the moment. So if you send something, it may not go unanswered. It becomes an actionable for the policymakers. So that's how you actually try to navigate the policy. Similarly, at the state level, if there is a state government which has a state government program for say startup, they will have a website, they will have a policy, and everything will be digital in terms of recognition.
So let's take, for example, most of us are in and around Delhi as of now, to whom we are speaking to and interacting with on this platform, and I'm sure there will be people from outside. So if I'm in Delhi, number one, I go and register myself as an entity on the Startup India site. I get a unique number. I also go for registering onto GEMS, which is there. These two are important parameters to get into, to provide my services, to get recognized for various fundings and various schemes which are available. Anything else beyond this, if I'm talking of an entrepreneur from a city called Delhi, any other structures, any other important procedures which are also involved beyond this?
So one thing I would like to mention, that before recognition, it is always recommended that the entrepreneur has a bit of clarity as to what she or he wants to actually do. It's always good to know that this is the area, and of course you can always pivot your business model, introduce new service line, so on and so forth. But your fundamental principles for starting a business should be practically very clear. The reason is that you're not only spending time, you're spending your efforts. There is a trade-off you're doing. There is an opportunity cost involved. And you cannot go around and keep registering as a different company and keep applying for recognition all over again and again. So it's always better that you have a lot clarity in terms of what needs to be done. Then with a lot more patience, go and register yourself as a company, as an LLP or whatever deems fit for your business case, and then apply for recognition, so on and so forth. And in case there are certain clarifications, there are certain clarities which are required by the in the recognition process, please try to address them on time. A lot of time, what we think that it's taking time for us to get recognized, but at the same time, we've also discovered that it's the entrepreneurs which also take time to respond. So it's a two-way road. So as much as we expect the ecosystem or the policymakers to do their job in an efficient manner, it's our responsibility as ecosystem players to ensure that we are also reciprocative of the same. And that is where I think role of the audience we have on this call becomes really important, to handle the young folks, tell them that whatever they are doing, they have clarity, and then get into the system and start getting aggressive about it.
Okay.
I have a question for Chahat. Chahat, in fact, you see, sometimes it happens that let's say a bunch of 2-3 people or 4-5 students, they get together and they start something. The website is registered and they start working on the idea. Now, in that course of time, they did not register and they did not make the company. But the portal is registered, let's say 1 year back during college time only they created. Now I have probably that experience that when you go to DPIT or the other sites, I mean they how do they consider like if the company or the domain is registered, let's say 2 years, the domain is 2 years old, or some idea they have been working for last 2 years, but actually I mean they started commercializing now, but practically it is running for last year or two. So what do you say on this?
So, sir, your date of registration, not recognition, your date of registration with MCA, either as a private limited company or an LLP or an unregistered partnership, so that is a date which will be counted in. So, if you have actually registered yourself as a company or anything, say 2 or 3 years back, the Startup India portal will automatically fetch information from there. So your tenure is actually started from the date your company has been incorporated, to be very honest.
Okay, my another question, let's say if let's say you have a private limited company running for last 10 years, or a limited company or something is running on, and you started working on an idea, and that idea probably has been developed within that company with the given resources you have. Now, how do you make it like a startup? Because the idea is new, working is new, but you have developed it within the from the company resources. So you say that the company should be framed separately for this?
So there is an important clause in the definition for recognition as startup, which clearly says that it should not be formed by way of either splitting or by way of amalgamation or by way of a similar activity wherein a company is trying to form a new subsidiary just for the sake of getting a recognition, or there is one particular idea it just wants to register and get the benefit. So all those things are there as checks and balances. Of course, it's our responsibility, or say it's company's responsibility, to ensure that if it's working on such a model, then the intention should be correct. I mean, it should be in a way that it's putting those efforts not for the sake of getting recognition, but to genuinely move into that direction. But having said that, if you see, the company has already been registered and it's been more than 10 years, as you mentioned. So any which way it follows out of the definition of being recognized as startup. Now, if the company tries to create another company or another subsidiary, automatically its shareholder will be one of the other larger companies, or say might have common directors. So even that is also not permissible right now. So that will any which way get flagged. Because the intent is to actually avoid such malified intentions, if any. I mean, the intention of company can be good, but the intent of the government or the policymakers is what we believe is to nurture young age and new first line entrepreneurs. That's the whole point.
So that means you are saying anybody who has a past
Okay.
with the like say DIN number, so he cannot go as a startup entrepreneur.
Yes, that will be caught because it's all now system driven and system connected.
Okay.
So that one has to be careful about.
Okay. Sandeep.
So that means it has to be absolutely a fresh entrepreneur getting onto the process and starting.
Yes.
That. So that's clear. Coming to the next very important aspect, Chahat, as Mr. Goel mentioned, funding is always a priority requirement for every startup. So, with respect to funds, what is the current scenario with any state government or the central government once the startup has registered itself and has started off working with minimal or say with their own resources and they want funds?
If I
Please.
talk about funding, I mean, India has been proud to be one of the largest fund recipient, especially from global capital, and it continues to be on a rising trend. At the same time, both the central and state governments do have a lot of schemes and incentives, both direct for direct funding as well as indirect funding. Now, when I talk about direct funding, at least at the state levels, a lot of states right now have funding based upon the stage of the startup. So we do have seed fund, we do have venture fund. A lot of states have their own venture capital fund. A lot of states have their own seed funds. And similarly, the government of India has already announced Startup India Seed Fund, which will be launched. It has already been notified, and which will also be launched shortly. And that's for startups at the seed stage. Now, what is really important, again, I'm reiterating the same thing, that for startups to actually go back, check and read what are the guidelines, what are the fund implementation mechanism, which is a nodal agency which is implementing that, and accordingly apply for those funds. So the state governments have a lot of budgetary allocations. A lot of times, we as startup community do not really try to go back and check and apply for those. We should not be hesitant to that. Apply for it. Might be faster, might take time, but at least let's do that. And we have funding both at the central and at the state level, which is up for grab for the startup ecosystem.
And what is the size of this funding? Like for a particular initiative, do you have a lower and an upper limit?
So the seed fund, for example, with the government of India has unveiled, will be funding startups up to INR 20 lakhs. That will be for startups at the seed fund stage. At the state level, all states have their own brackets, have their own criteria. But on an average, the seed fund size is about 2 to 3 lakh, and it's generally a grant, is what I've seen. For startups at say the progressive stages, for example, at MVP or at the scaling stage, there are states that provide funding up to 20 to 30 lakhs also. And some states provide as a grant, some states give as a loan, some states even take equity. So there are different models of fund implementation, but of course, depending upon the stage of the startup, the size of the fund also differs.
A very important thing, Chad, you mentioned. I heard it for the first time. In fact, I was aware of it. Certain states even are interested in taking equity.
Yes.
So it's quite exciting. So which are these states, if you can share, which do also go in for taking equities depending on the projects?
So a lot of state governments for growth stage or mature startups actually have their own venture funds, which are actually Kasi government. When I say Kasi government, it means that the state also has a stake, and they have raised funds from outside bodies also. You can take example of Gujarat Venture Capital Fund, Rajasthan Venture Capital Fund, Karnataka has a fund, Kerala has a fund. So a lot of these states have their own venture capital funds, which actually take up equity, and they do offer funds to the tune in crores as well. And a lot of these funds have actually closed multiple rounds, which means that they're all revolving funds. So the funds always need to be back to the pocket of the fund, and then again they fund back to the startups. So a lot of these startups are very mature. They are now in probably 10 to 15 years of their cycle and have supported hundreds of startups. And they're always looking out for excellent startup from the respective regions. So such funds take equity in such startups.
Okay, Sandeep,
Mr. Goel, this is an interesting piece. Yes, please.
Chahat, like as you said, the central government, state government, and the private funding partners are also there. Companies are also there. So if I ask you a question that let's say if we put central government as A, state government as B, and the private funding partners as C, because a lot of people do ask such kind of queries with that what are drawbacks when we go to the government or when we go to the private venture capitalists.
So, sir, it all depends upon the risk appetite. Now, as we know, the government has, of course, a much higher risk appetite. Our objective, no government's objective is actually is in terms of getting too much return in hand. The larger objective is actually the benefit of society at large. So they have a higher risk appetite. So they might be in a position to fund a lot more startups, taking a lot more risk. The private investors, of course, are a lot more risk averse, and for that they need higher returns. So they might ask for a higher percentage of equity, especially if they are having first mover advantage. So, and they have a lot more scrutiny, a lot more due diligence. They might have a lot more say as a sitting director, which the government will generally avoid, because the objective of government is not to dictate terms and conditions of a business, but to actually push you to do business. And what I understand, they take up equity not for the reason of getting handsome returns, but to increase seriousness for the startup, and to also get a recognition for the startup that the government has been supporting this startup. So these are the prime differences when I talk about government and private funding.
Okay, if I probably raise another question, what happens when we talk about a startup? So it has multiple, probably I can say that first object is to create a prototype or to create a product, to create a sample. Then probably the second comes is the promotion, marketing, setting up offices, and creating a team, building up team. The expenditures of a startup basically goes without revenue for quite some time. Now, when we talk about state government, central government, or the private VC, how do you highlight that which portion? Like I have seen many companies, they don't talk about the promotion part expenditures. They talk about infrastructure. Some talk about only about development. So how do you differentiate these three different inputs that where they focus more and what they prefer, what they do not?
So a lot actually what I've seen depends upon the overall value proposition and the business model. For example, I have seen startups which have raised millions of dollars of funding without having any revenue stream. And why investors have invested in them? Because such startups might be having something which is beneficial from the long run. Because today data is gold. So if a startup which is in the business of data mining, and right now it is focusing on collecting data, especially in India, which is one of the largest consumer in the world, data is absolutely gold for all international investors. So then investors do take a lot of interest and risk, where they believe that the startup might not be having a revenue stream today, but the kind of data it is collecting, the kind of data mining it is doing, it is going to become, say, a next unicorn in, say, next 5 to 6 years. Now those are intelligent early stage investors, which and they try to figure out in terms of the background of the entrepreneur, in terms of the quality and the kind of data it is mining. And then they are fine if say, for example, the startups are spending a lot of money on promotion, startup are having a lot of spending in terms of research and technology or R&D, so to say, then they are fine with the startup not having any revenue stream for the time being. And they are very careful and understanding of the fact that the startup will give us returns, say, probably after 4 to 5 years when there will be time.
So how do you speak on the government side of it? Like if for private, fine, but how do these government funds they talk about it?
So any fund which the government has, whether it's startup or whether the center has it or the state have it, they always have an expert committee. At times it's called as state level implementation committee. At times called as an empowered committee. So all these committees have a mixed blend of government official as well as private stakeholders. And at times a lot of governments have committees which don't have any government representation because they want to stay out of it. And such committees actually guide and help the government both in terms of implementing this theme, and even in fact selecting startup which should be funded. So this brings in necessary expertise into that. For example, the seed fund scheme which the government has announced, it has something called EAC, which is Experts Advisory Committee. Now the Expert Advisory Committee will actually provide inputs to the government as to which incubator should be selected or which incubator may not be selected. And then the government will take an appropriate call, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Okay. So, great. So that means step one, I have an idea, I have a product, I have a solution. I form a company, I go and register myself. I get a unique number for my startup initiative. I go into and register myself onto GEMS. I look into my state, I look into the central government opportunities for funding which might be there, and I can pitch for a seed funding, or if I'm already into an growth stage, I can pitch for equity, right? Sponsor equity. And these possibilities does exist with couple of states as of today. And I will be equally valued like a private equity venture fund evaluates me. I will be evaluated. And as Mr. Goel rightly asked, what can be the prerequisite based on which the funding may happen? And as Chahat rightly answered, that depends on typically a future prospect of the opportunity. So great. Now, these does exist within the government framework or the government ecosystem today. Now, having discussed on these areas, what's very, very critical is to understand, which you made very clear, an existing organization which wants to come up with a new idea may not fall in the bracket of a startup. Right, Shahan? So an existing organization does not fall into it. It has to be absolutely a new entity, a new organization which is taking shape.
Sandeep, may I revise this question again?
Please.
A lot of our friends, probably like in my age, the next generation is coming up.
Right.
I'm just rephrasing my question once again. Now, let's say my DIN number is, let's say, 20 years, 25 years old. Now, my son is joining me now. So, what do you say that I should not register my son as a part of my existing company? I keep him without DIN number and make him to register a separate company if at all we are looking for a new startup or new idea. And then we probably take him from there and he remains independent in that company. I don't participate in that. That's what you're saying?
That is true. And in terms of funding, you can always support your son in what we also know as bootstrap. You can always help your son settle up, but your idea, your viewpoint is absolutely correct. Ideally, your son should set up its own company with Yoshi being the director and other directors, and start afresh. Then it's a startup. Otherwise, it's not a startup in the true sense.
So that means you say that I cannot become a director in that company, and I can become a like what you call
Advisor.
a bank for him, but not a director.
Yes, ideally that is preferable, especially at the starting stage.
Okay, all right.
This is a very important information, Mr. Goel, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the new generation from business families have brilliant ideas and they're coming out with that. And so that it means that the person should register himself or herself as a separate entity, individual entity, who is coming in and forming an idea, can be guided or bootstrapped by an existing family business. That's fine.
Sandeep, another question, like I'm associated with a lot of social initiatives.
Yes.
How do you get these funding or seed funding with respect to an idea which is not like commercial in nature, but have social impact?
So, in fact, Gol sir, so social entrepreneurship has been a topic of very recent interest for a lot of people, and there have been a lot of development on this front. Now, when you talk about, especially post-COVID, we realize that how important it is to have such social agendas also on track. Now, there are a lot of ways in which you can raise funding for such social enterprises. One is a lot of corporates, especially which have these CSR pockets. A lot of corporates channelize funding for social entrepreneurs through a lot of incubators. So there are a lot of incubators which are focused on grooming and supporting social enterprises, and their funding is channelized or backed by very large corporates. Because if you know, so incubators can raise CSR funding, and it is exempted under, it's allowed as a CSR funding under Section 8 of the Companies Act. And such incubators support a lot of such social enterprises. This is one. Second, of late we have observed that a lot of companies are running their own social entrepreneurship challenges and competition, and they do fund a lot of these startups. If you talk about multinational companies, as on date, almost every multinational company has some or the other social challenge which is coming in place. This is second. The third point is that the government runs a lot of grand challenges. So, for example, Karnataka, I was speaking the other day, they actually run grand challenge to support enterprises, not just on social aspect, but other aspects too, which cover social entrepreneurs. And they do give such startups a decent prize money. And it's in lakhs, which can be attributed as a seed fund for such startups. So it's, like I mentioned, it's all about being aware and knowing that what are such channels of funding, and you can try extracting out of that.
Okay, great. So, a lot of new perspective to the existing scenario been brought in over here. What I feel, Mr. Goyal, is as we have been talking about this, if any of the participants today who have been listening to us, if they have any queries, they can raise it through the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself at this stage and speak out, please feel free. If you have any points to raise, any questions or any queries to ask, you may unmute and speak out. Or you can write your query on the chat box. Chahat, as we wait for queries to come in, see, it's a very, very critical couple of very important points and pertinent points which you raised in terms of defining the scope of a startup, which is very, very clear from the government perspective. And the definition is very clear. Two, the process and procedures are perfectly in place. I have one very important question which has been queuing up. Is there any priority sector? Because governments may have 5 or 10 priority sectors, because obviously government has a lot of responsibilities towards the social infrastructure. Are there any priority sectors which might be given more importance or more significance as such?
So I won't say that any government, so to say, has any priority sector. I think startup in itself is a priority segment, if I have to say, I have to put it this way, that,
Okay.
that there is a lot of impetus, a lot of talk, if you would have seen. So we had this Niti Aayog Governing Council meeting, which happened a couple of weeks back. And Honorable Prime Minister at such a forum mentioned that we need to foster startups, we need to promote them. Otherwise, they'll be the key to this whole Atmanirbhar objective which we have. So startup in its whole sense is a priority right now. And what is also very important, which I would like to share with our friends, is that we should know that how to navigate intangible benefits which the government brings in for you. Let me give a very small example.
Please.
The government has something called National Startup Awards, which was launched back in 2020, and we have had first edition already completed. And the application for National Startup Award 2021 closed on 15 February. Now, the startup which actually won in those awards or were actually finalists in National Startup Award 2020, they not only got 5 lakh, 5 lakh is not a very big sum, they didn't get that money per se. What they actually gained out of was, in addition to money, was an intangible benefit. I mean, they actually had a FaceTime. Some of those startups had a FaceTime with the Honorable Prime Minister on a national television, which was amazing.
Right.
And right now, as we speak, there's a program which is going on Doordarshan called Startup Champions,
Okay.
and it is featuring startups from those national startup awards exclusively on Doordarshan for 12 weeks.
Okay.
Then we have programs running around with large organizations like Sequoia Capital, Thai Global, FICCI, so on and so forth, which are helping these winners of NSA over a period of last 1 year. So while a lot of these things may or may not be publicly known, but at least the government committed that if you participate in this NSA awards, you'll be handled for years to come. And the intangible benefits you'll get is immense, which is happening. So my moot point is that all entrepreneurs, should actively participate, should actively contribute to such initiatives, because you don't know the level of intangible benefits you'll end up getting over the long run.
Sandeep, I'll have another question came up during discussion with one of, I must call him a student. He had a brilliant idea, and when he went to the incubation center, they asked him to share the details. And whenever you go for registering an idea on the sites, they always ask you to put down the idea. Now, what should come first? Like, because you see that once the idea is open and submitted to these sites or gone as a presentation, basically the idea is gone in the hands of public. So, how do you comment upon this? That how do the student or the entrepreneur protect his idea while applying for such kind of platforms?
So, Goel sir, this is where actually it becomes all the more important to be recognized and to protect your ideas beforehand. And that is why I was mentioning one you get recognized, and at the same time you can always apply for trademark, copyright, IP, and now it doesn't take as much time as it's hype. So one should always try to do that. But at the same time, as a startup, everybody has this possessiveness, and there is a risk in the market that my idea may or may not get stolen. But it's up to you how much information you really want to share. And if you have conviction in your idea, I mean, I'm pretty sure. I mean, Airbnb's pitch deck is available online, and it was available before even it actually came into the market. Now, what is important for any entrepreneur to know how much information it should share, and ultimately, even if, say, for example, it gets stolen, it's the idea which was there in the entrepreneur's head who knows how to execute or implement this. And if you really don't have that much conviction, and if you'll have that risk that my idea may not get stolen, then it'll be really difficult to compete in the market, because it's not that at idea point of time that you have risk. The risk actually start when you are actually into the market, because the moment you are into the market, you are exposed to not your peers but to larger corporates also. I mean, if the idea is so good, the corporates might just replicate it, and they have all the funds. But it's your conviction which really matters. Uber was there, but at the same time Ola was created, right? So Ola also, I mean, anybody could have copied Ola or Uber's business model, but they went ahead with the conviction. They felt that there is something which is missing in either of the business model which they can execute, and when to implement it.
Right.
You have to come out. Chahat, if you would like to take a question, there's a question from Mr. Vatva. He says, we have recently applied for an incubation program with NSRCL in IMB in health and life sciences. Can we still apply for Startup India program?
Yes, absolutely, and you should do that. So, see, as I mentioned, state governments have their own programs, central government have their own programs, and they run hand in hand. While a lot of states do not allow you to take similar benefit within the state government program, but I don't think there is any state which doesn't allow you to take central government's benefit of central government scheme as well. So you should definitely go ahead and apply, and that will rather strengthen your application more, that you are incubator or about to be incubated in this incubator.
Right. I think Avinash, that answers your query. Thank you for raising it. And in fact, health and life sciences are certain areas which are growing very fast, which are growing very fast. Anybody has any query can please type it in, or you can unmute and speak out. In fact, a lot of very important informations were shared today, and Chahat, it was good to understand, and there were very, very fine aspects which you brought out. Okay, and there were very, very important things which were there, starting from the seed funding to the venture funding options, the equity funding portion of it, and how a new business uh, can be started by a new business family member who has an upcoming ideas how to go about it. And not only that, we came to understand the government is in fact putting a lot of efforts to enable the startups to take shape, not only at the central level but at the state government level also. And I think there's a humongous opportunity which should be explored and taken up. Mr. Goyal, any queries, any thought which you'd like to share at this stage? Because we have a lot of companies with a lot of new ideas, and I'm sure in the coming couple of months you will hear about it. There are tech startups, non-tech startups. There are agro-based products which are coming up.
You see, being I come from a education background where we have trained more than 2 lakh students. My outcome or my feeling, the core feeling remains that whatever knowledge can be disseminated to the people
Yeah.
with charges or without charges, we don't mind. And today, Chahat has been very candid in answering few very basic and very critical components. So I think the entire session will benefit a lot of budding entrepreneurs or probably people of my age or maybe elder than me, where the next generation is coming. Probably they'll be able to channelize them and it probably make them part of this startup ecosystem. It will help them. So I must
Sure.
and closing remarks are always from you, Sandeep.
Thank you, Mr. Goyal. In fact, it was enriching, Chahat, no doubt. There were a couple of queries which I too had. You clarified them, and I'm sure people would have benefited from this. Going forward, we look forward to more and more sessions from you, Chahat, and we'll be engaging with the entrepreneurs in the coming weeks and months to help and facilitate them to move forward. Thank you, everybody, for participating. We will catch up with you once again next Saturday. Till such time, see you. Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Goyal. Thank you, Chahat, once more. Bye.